Nobody thought I would make it past 30. Not my doctors. Not my family, honestly. For a long time, even me. My name is Daniel. I am 34 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon, and when I was 26 years old, I was diagnosed with a degenerative spinal condition that my neurologist told me calmly, professionally, like he was reading from a script, would likely leave me unable to walk within 5 years. He said it sitting behind a clean desk in a clean office, while I sat across from him in a chair that suddenly felt like it was dissolving underneath me. I drove home that day and sat in my car in the driveway for 2 hours without going inside. I did not cry. I did not call anyone. I just sat there, and I thought about every single thing I had planned to do with my life that I now believed I would never get to do. Let me tell you who I was before that diagnosis. I was a personal trainer. That was not just my job, it was my entire identity. I had built a small but loyal client base over 4 years. I trained 6 days a week myself. I ran half marathons on weekends just for fun. My body was the thing I was most proud of. Not in a vain way, but in the way that someone is proud of something they have worked incredibly hard to build and maintain. Movement was how I processed everything: stress, grief, frustration, joy. I ran through all of it. And now, doctor was sitting across from me telling me that the very thing I had built my entire life around was going to be taken away from me. The condition was called degenerative disc disease with spinal stenosis. The discs in my lower spine were deteriorating. Nerves were being compressed. I had been ignoring the symptoms for over a year. The numbness in my legs, the pain that started as occasional and became constant, telling myself it was overtraining, telling myself it would pass. It was not overtraining. It was not going to pass. The first year after the diagnosis was the hardest year of my life, and I want to be honest with you about that, because I think people tell these stories and skip over the darkness to get to the inspiration faster. I am not going to do that. I stopped training clients within 3 months, not because I had to yet, but because I could not stand in front of someone and tell them to push through physical limits when I was quietly terrified of my own. I stopped running. I stopped going to the gym. I spent a lot of time on my couch watching other people live the life I thought I was losing. My girlfriend at the time, Sarah, she tried. She really did. She came over constantly in those early months. She researched the condition. She printed out articles about people who had managed it successfully. She was patient in a way I did not deserve given how closed off I had become. But I pushed her away. Not dramatically. Just slowly. The way you push people away when you are ashamed of what you are becoming and you do not want anyone close enough to watch it happen. She stopped coming over as much. Then she stopped coming over at all. I did not blame her. I was just gone, somewhere inside myself that I did not know how to come back from. The twist in this story does not come where you expect it. It does not come from a miraculous surgery, or a drug that reversed everything, or a specialist who told me the first doctor was wrong. The twist came from a Tuesday morning in February, when I had been sitting on my couch for 4 days straight, and my 11-year-old nephew, Marcus, called me. Marcus is my sister's kid. He is the kind of child who asks too many questions and talks too fast and laughs at things that are not that funny and somehow makes the room feel warmer just by being in it. He called me that Tuesday and asked if I wanted to come over and watch a movie. I said I was busy. He said, "Uncle Daniel, you are never busy anymore. You just sit at home." I did not say anything. He said, "I miss you. You used to take me running." I still did not say anything. Then he said, "I don't care if you can't run. I just want to hang out with you. Can you just come over?" I sat there on my couch with the phone in my hand for a long moment. And something shifted. Not dramatically. Not like a movie moment with music in the background. Just quietly. Something very small and very important shifted inside me. I said yes. I drove to my sister's house that Tuesday. I sat on her couch and watched a movie with Marcus and ate the popcorn he made, which was slightly burnt and completely perfect. And on the drive home, I made a decision. Not a grand declaration. Not a promise to conquer everything. Just one small decision. I was going to find out what I could still do. Not what I had lost. Not what might be taken next. what I could still do right now today. I went back to a doctor, a different one, a specialist in spinal rehabilitation who had worked with athletes her entire career. She was direct with me, in a way I needed. She told me the condition was real, and the progression was real, and I was not going to outrun it. But she also told me that with the right approach, specific exercises, careful movement, genuine consistency, it slowed the progression significantly. I could maintain function for longer than the first prognosis suggested. I could build the muscles around my spine to compensate for what the discs were no longer doing. She said, "You're not going to be who you were, but you can still be someone remarkable. Those are not the same thing, and one of them is still available to you." I wrote that down. I still have it. What happened over the next 2 years was not a straight line. It was not a montage. It was slow and painful and full of setbacks and days where I did everything right and still woke up the next morning in more pain than the day before. I started small, movements my body could handle, stretches, then strengthening, then slowly, carefully, more. Found a physical therapist named James who had worked with spinal patients for 20 years and who had the specific gift of never letting me feel sorry for myself for more than about 30 seconds at a time. I started eating differently, sleeping differently, managing stress differently, and slowly enough that I almost missed it happening. I started to come back. 18 months into my rehabilitation, I went back to training clients, not the way I had before. Different, slower, more intentional, but I went back. And something unexpected happened. The clients I helped most during that period were not the ones who wanted to run faster or lift heavier or lose weight before a wedding. They were the ones who were scared. The ones who had been told their bodies were broken. The ones who had received diagnoses that had taken something from them and were sitting on their own couches trying to figure out who they were now. I understood those people in a way I never had before. Because I had been sitting on that couch, I knew exactly what it felt like to be there, and I knew, because I had lived it, that the couch was not the end of the story unless you decided it was. I am 34 now. I still have the condition. That has not changed and it will not change. There are days that are hard, days where the pain is significant, and my body reminds me loudly that it has limits. I did not choose, but I am still walking. I am still training. I opened my own small rehabilitation-focused studio 14 months ago. We work specifically with people recovering from injury, illness, or diagnosis. People who have been told what they cannot do and are trying to figure out what they still can. It is the most meaningful work I have ever done. More meaningful than every half marathon ran when my body felt invincible. Because this work comes from somewhere real. It comes from that Tuesday morning in February when an 11-year-old called me and told me he missed me and asked me to just come over and watch a movie. Marcus is 13 now. He still talks too fast and laughs at things that are not that funny. Last month, he ran his first 5,000. I walked it beside him, and at the finish line, he looked at me and said, "Uncle Daniel, I knew you would make it." I did not correct him on the walking versus running thing. Some things do not need correcting. If you are watching this and you have received news that felt like the floor disappearing underneath you, a diagnosis, a prognosis, a doctor's voice telling you calmly what your future looks like now, I want you to hear this. They can tell you what the condition is. They cannot tell you who you are going to become because of it. Those are two completely different things, and only one of them belongs to you. Find out what you can still do, what you lost, what you still have. Start there. That is where everything begins.